And we're live. What's up, friends, family, and frenemies? It's your girl, Dr. Shonna, and I got a message for you all. You know, I only come on when I have something to talk about. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it tonight. But before we get started, let me just go ahead and do some housekeeping. As I say in all my videos, here's three things I want you guys to do, and it doesn't cost you not one penny. Like the video first and foremost. Let's get the likes going. And for all my haters out there, you can give me the thumbs down. That's okay too. Just participate in the YouTube algorithm and I'll be happy. Thank you very much. Subscribe to the channel. Don't just watch the video. Don't just glean and get information from the video, because you know I'm here to teach. Subscribe to the channel. And last but not least, share the video, family. Share the video. It doesn't hurt you to share the video. Y'all know when I come on here, I'm coming on here because I'm teaching. Share the video, or should I say I'm educating, not even teaching. Share the video. For all my business students, I have a new class coming up for you guys. I was going to do it tomorrow, but it seems like many of you guys are going back into your office for work. So I think I'm going to do the business class on Saturday at 3 o'clock p.m. So make sure that you are there Saturday on YouTube, a live business training, 3 o'clock p.m. on Saturday. If you are not a part of the business community, you will not have access to the video. So I don't want to get the emails saying, I don't know how to get the video, because you have to be a part of the membership to get that video. I'm going to teach you guys the language that you should be using in order for you to get customers, sell your products, or get followers, whatever you're trying to do in your business. I'm going to teach you guys the language, the psychology behind business, and the language you should be using. For all my relationship students, you will have a video uploaded this weekend as well. I believe I'm going to do it Saturday, give you guys the next video as well. And to my social media influencer group, I am going to be coming on, I'm going to say tomorrow night, I believe it is, about 5 o'clock p.m., 4 o'clock p.m. tomorrow evening, to give you guys some tips on social media influencing. So I'm glad I have all my community members in there. Thank you so much, Mary, Gwendolyn. Thank you for that donation, brother. Lindell, I thank you for that donation. But let's go ahead and have this conversation, because I know you're ready for the conversation and I don't want to leave you guys waiting. Hold up, one last thing. Ladies, to my relationship group, for those who are in the group, go ahead and give your testimonies in this chat so people can know that we are making things happen in that group. And for all my other women who are interested in joining the group, the only thing you have to do is go to theiriswomen.com, sign up to theiriswomen.com, and go ahead and get registered for this Saturday's class. It's every Saturday, Eastern Standard Time at 10 o'clock a.m. every Saturday. I do not miss a beat. It's rare when I cancel. So I know you guys want more of me, but I'm here to really educate and teach people in the areas that they need it. We have to build our family units, because our family units are under attack. We have to also build our economics. We cannot have a revolution without economics, right? And the pandemic, or the plandemic, what some people call it, right? The plandemic has not impacted me, and I'm grateful for it. And I want to show you guys how you guys can keep the plandemic from impacting you. But you have to be willing to do the work. You're not going to get money if you don't do the work. You got to do the work. I do the work every damn day. So you got to do the work. So let's go ahead and have this conversation. So I was having a conversation with a brother who is completing his PhD. And I was seeing how I can help him in his dissertation, how I can help him do his research, or get him information for research, because anyone who's ever gone through this process of becoming a doctor is a lot of research that we have to do. And sometimes you need assistance to do research. So we started to engage in this real big conversation based on the topic of his dissertation. And we started to talk about Dr. King. What the brother doesn't know is that I'm revolutionary. Right? People see the smile, they see the laughing, because I'm a very happy-go-lucky person when you're on the phone with me. But if you want to start talking stuff that I know, the happy-go-lucky Shonna is not there, right? It's not that I'm mean or anything. I get very intense. I listen to understand, not to respond, to understand. And in areas where I support you, I'm going to support you big time. In areas where you're wrong, I'm going to point out where you're wrong, and I'm going to give you all the data, the information, and the facts to support my argument. So that's what happened in our conversation. So it brings me to why I'm having this topic today, because the conversation with this brother, although this brother is on point, I cannot argue with this brother. It was a great discussion, not a debate. It was a great discussion. He is on point. But what I noticed is the remnants of the 1963 Kumbaya people. And I mean that with all due respect. I know I have a lot of boomers on here. Most of the boomers that rock with me, they know we hard body. Those are the boomers that I love in my circles. But then, we do have some boomers out here that need to step aside. Let's just be honest, right? And I'm not trying to be funny. We have some boomers that need to step aside because they still think this is 1963, with all due respect. They still have a 1963 mindset, and they're still doing 1963 things. And I'm asking myself, have we not learned from the so-called 1963 Negro Revolution? Have we not learned that some of those thought processes and those behaviors no longer serve us? And this is exactly why we keep getting trampled on. Haven't we gotten tired that here we are 157 years later after the emancipation of the Negro in America, and we are still with the same arguments? I don't know about you guys, but I'm tired of it. And so I had to sit back and think about this all. And I had to take some notes, and I had to write it down. So I want you guys to know that I'm drawing from Dr. King's book, Why We Can't Wait, and I'm analyzing just the first chapter. I mean, of course, as time goes on, you guys want to have conversations and analyze other chapters, I'm more than willing to do this. But how it starts out, how his book, Why We Can't Wait, how it starts out tells me everything I need to know in 2020. Of what not to do. See, I know some of y'all gonna get mad. I get it. Some of y'all gonna get mad. Let me be fair. Let me say this. First of all, I appreciate Dr. King, and I appreciate what Dr. King did in the context of 1963. I appreciate the revolution of 1963 in that context, in that time frame. I appreciate it. I'm very honored to be a part of that lineage where we fought and we made things happen. I'm very honored to be a part of it. But what we know is that if we don't understand history, if we don't research it to the T, if we don't look for things that we did right versus things that we did wrong, we're more likely to repeat the parts of history that do not serve us in this current day. Let me say that. Let me say that up. Let me say that a different way. See, a lot of people that I've noticed online and people that I've engaged with, the problem that I'm having with a lot of people is nostalgia. What do I mean when I say that? People get so stuck on the old times that no longer exist, and they get so stuck on these things, and they say, if we do this and we do that, this is what happened. Yeah, if we did that in 1810, if we did that in 1905, if we did that in 1963, yes, it applies, but some things just don't apply in 2020. So when we start taking on that luggage of our ancestors, we start bringing it on, we do so, which is admirable, I appreciate it, but we do so without analyzing the stuff that did not work. So why do we do that? Why do we continuously like to relish in the days of our ancestors without analyzing the areas where our ancestors went wrong? What is it about some of our people that we don't like to analyze where things will not work for us in this current day and where things were wrong. How you doing, Zeus? How you doing, Mika Woods, Leslie Lowry, right? Solo, Shawnee B, Just Be Real. How y'all all doing? Thank y'all for coming on. Thank y'all for coming on. Share the video, family. Give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel, family. Right? That's right, Antonio. We do need to analyze the pros and the cons. And that's what I want to do for today. So I know I had to preface that because I know that some of my boomers are going to be upset because some of my boomers, you can't say nothing about the ancestors. Good Lord. You cannot say anything bad. You cannot analyze them. You cannot critique them. You cannot say this is where you went wrong. This is where you messed up. Oh, no. Oh, no. Today, we are going to analyze this whole concept of nonviolent protests. Oh, yeah. Now, I want y'all to know you have to listen for understanding. Don't just hear the term analyzing and critiquing nonviolence and then take that statement and run with it somewhere else. Listen, just listen for a moment. If nothing else, just for a moment. So we can really understand what happened in 1963, what we are repeating today, and if we do not change it, our children and our children's children will be doing the same thing that we are doing 30 years from now. And that would be a problem. So let's go ahead and have this conversation, people. Let's go and have a conversation because we know that our boomers are very proud of the nonviolence in the protests. Now, I'm not telling you to be violent in your protests, but I'm not telling you not to be violent in your protests. I'm saying all things must be considered. That's just that's what I'm saying. So the Negro Revolution of 1963, why did that happen? Why were Blacks in 1963 ready for everything? Why in the 60s were they burning down things? Why were there protests coming up all across the nation, uprisings everywhere? What we're seeing today ain't new. We're repeating it. We're repeating it. See, we have to understand, and as we do understand, that protest comes because after things have been piled on for some time, people get frustrated. So why were our family, our friends, our frenemies, our ancestors, why were they upset in 1963, which led into the Negro Revolution? Why was that the case? A culmination of events. Okay, first of all, you got to think about it in context. Before 1963 came the law where schools were going to be desegregated, right? And this is what they do to us, family. You got to pay attention to this. This is what they do to us. We protest, we get mad, we complain, they throw us a bone, we become disillusioned, we become passive, we sit back and we wait for victory to happen. And that's what they did. We protest against desegregated school. I mean, we protest against segregated schools. We wanted desegregation, and eventually, they gave us a trick bag. They pinned it in that schools were going to be desegregated, and we waited. And we was happy, but over time, we noticed that this new law was taking too goddamn long to happen. Only 9%, if I'm not mistaken, of Black children have been integrated to the schools even after it became law. So we was frustrated about that. We was also frustrated about the little sneaky loopholes that people find, the government finds, to create new laws to offset the so-called laws that they pass on our behalf. The loophole I'm talking about, staying within the context of desegregation. You had the Pupil Placement Law. So in a nutshell, what is the Pupil Placement Law? It was a way for them to find the token Black people to bring into their schools, right? So they make sure you had to fit certain criteria. You had to be from a certain type of family in order for you to go to a certain school. And we see that right now too. That's why the president is now trying to push for this school choice thing, right? So we already know that this pupil placement law, it is still in existence. It's everything just shows up in different ways. Our children are still being tokenized, if that is even a word. They're still being selected who gets to go to what school based off of what criteria, from what zip code, from what family, from what income. All of this stuff is still happening instead of doing what was right? Bringing equality across the educational system. We know that's never going to happen, but that was a trick bag. And so we got frustrated in the 60s. We're waiting for our children to get an opportunity. We're sitting down waiting for them to recognize us as worthy of a quality education, for them to recognize us of needing the education in order for us to so-called pull ourselves up by the bootstraps, right? We know these things, but they also know that they were never going to give it to us. Not even today. They also knew that it was not going to happen because they know the power behind education. So there is no mistake why education happens for some and not others. Oh, family, we got to talk about it. We got to talk about it, family. We got to talk about it. Okay. So that was one thing. We also have to understand that during that time, Black folks, just like they are today, was extremely disappointed with both political parties. Doesn't that sound very familiar? Doesn't that sound like 2020? Disappointed with both political parties. You had the Democrats just giving sound bites, ad libs, centered around civil rights, right? But not really doing anything about it. You had the Republican Party being a little bit more progressive in their language on civil rights issues, right? But not standing up to their promises, not being in integrity. They make a lot of noise. They get a lot of discussion going, just like the president's doing now, right? Executive order to investigate this, executive order to investigate that, but not giving us anything, right? Not delivering on any promises. So in 1963, the same thing was happening. And Black folks they were getting frustrated. They were disappointed. All right. You also had President Kennedy. Now, everybody loves them some President Kennedy. I understand why they love President Kennedy. Oh, yes, they do. But you had President Kennedy also playing the games and the tricks. Right. So, I mean, we can't win, people. We can't. I mean, I know how we can win, but the way we keep going about doing things, we can't win. So you have President Kennedy, who backed away from wiping out housing discrimination. He got in on that basis, avoided it for 2 years. And then when he finally signed into law about the housing discrimination, it was a very weak law because he failed to address the discrimination with the banking systems. Oh, you see the trick bags? You see the trick bags? It's crazy. It's crazy. So you want to talk about you're going to abolish and eliminate housing discrimination, but you don't abolish and eliminate banking discrimination. But they know that. They know that they have to give us just a little bit so that we won't become uncivil, so that we can maintain our disillusionment, so we can remain asleep and just be happy with the crumbs that they are giving us. So you got to understand, Black folks at that time, they started to realize it was crumbs, and they were patient because that's how we have been engineered to be. Oh, I know I'm going to be making some people mad. I know I'm going to be making some people mad because that is the truth. Come on now, look around your family. Can we talk about it? Don't get mad. I'm not talking about your family in particular, but I'll look at it around my family too. Can we look around our families together? There are some of them who are with the shit, right? Some of us are like, yo, I'm sorry, let's get it popping. Whereas others like, well, you just got to give people time. You got to give people time so they can make a change. You got to make it known what you want. Just give them time. Meanwhile, we're getting bashed over our heads. Meanwhile, we're getting shot and killed. Meanwhile, our neighborhoods are piece of shit's neighborhoods and we're killing each other there. Meanwhile, our children, our girls are being kidnapped. Meanwhile, we're still overrepresented in prison. Meanwhile, we're still overrepresented in foster care. And people are still telling us to be patient and get out and vote. The same thing that Black folks were told in 1963. You want to see change, you got to rock the vote. You want to see change, you got to register to vote and show up to the polls. You want to see change, you got to get behind the political candidate that's going to help you to get change. And we still having the same damn conversation today. That is a problem. That is a problem. Negroes were frustrated in the 60s. Why? Because they witnessed America go to war with nation after nation after nation in the name of protecting freedom, but yet ignore what was happening to their very own citizens, the American Blacks, right here in this great nation, ignoring what was happening to us, ignoring the fact that we still was not free, although it's documented in their records that they knew that we were not free. But the same thing is happening today. America is still so concerned about everybody else. But when it comes to their people on this land, they ignore the issues. They ignore the issues. They're ignoring people being shot down in this very great nation, but they're concerned about what's going on overseas. And Negroes were tired of it then, and Negroes are tired of it now. Nothing has changed. What else led to the 1963 Negro Revolution? Let's talk about unemployment. Isn't that the same argument we're having right now? See, y'all don't have to listen to anything I say. You can go ahead and do your own research. The same arguments that they were having then were Black people being 2 and 3 times more unemployed than white people. Black people unemployment rates steadily increase. Why do you think that's still a conversation in the news today? Why do you think most presidents like to say how the Black unemployment is dropping? Why do you think that's still a discussion? See, because they know why unemployment is still an issue among us. It's not, don't tell me because we're lazy, because we're not lazy. How about try? We're shut out. We were shut out then, we're shut out now. And they know it's an issue. They see the data. They love collecting information. They see the data. They know what's happening, but they're not addressing key issues. They weren't addressing it in the 60s, and they're not addressing it in the 21st century. And we're still being told the same thing, to be patient, to rock the vote. You want to make a change, you got to get up to the vote. You got to get up to the polls and vote if you want to make a change. We got all these little buffoonery people out here telling us the same goddamn thing. And the people who are telling us these things on their platforms, whether it's a national platform on national TV or as a social media platform with hundreds of thousands of people still saying the same goddamn thing, but nobody has a goddamn agenda or plan for us. The very people with the platform. Now, you know, those of us, we know what we want. We got our little agendas, right? But ain't nobody listening to us. The people, well, I'm not going to say that because they are listening to us. They absolutely are listening to us, but y'all know what I mean. And the people who have these mega platforms that they love getting their butter biscuits, with all due respect, from the power sources and the powers that be, they have the power and the ability to push forth an agenda for us, policies specifically for us, but they refuse to do it. And that's what I'm talking about. That passivity that was present in 1963 is the same passivity that's present in 2020 from the same issues. Another reason why the 1963 Negro Revolution occurred is because Black folks were relegated to low-paying jobs. We were relegated to low-paying jobs then. We're relegated to lower-paying jobs now. And it has not changed. And at every goal you have to get higher and higher and higher in your career path, you're met with discrimination. Now, I'm not saying that some of us don't make it through. We already know that tokenism is important in American society because it has to make it seem like they're doing all that they can do for the American Negro. And for some reason, the minute one of us get a little bit of clout, we think we made it. We did it then, we're doing it now. So now I want to talk about where we went wrong. So since we have an understanding of all the things that were happening, well, not all the things, but some major things that was happening in 1963 that led to all the uprisings, that led to the protests, that led to the so-called Negro Revolution. If we had all of that going on then, where did we go wrong? Why hasn't that stuff sustained us into 2020? Why are we still fighting for the same thing? In 1963, it was lynchings, and in 2020, you're shooting us. So why are we still arguing about the same thing? In 1963, it was unemployment. In 2020, it was unemployment. In 1963, it was low wages. In 2020, is low wages. In 1963, it was failing school systems. In 2020, it's failing school systems. In 1963, it was discrimination in housing. And in 2020, there's still discrimination in housing. What is happening that all that happened in the 60s wasn't enough to sustain us and propel us forward? Now I'm going to tell you what went wrong. Our disillusionment. Our disillusionment is deep-seated, right? We really do need a re-education of our minds. We really do need a reconditioning of our mind and our behaviors, because everyone else in the world seems to realize that the American Negro is their own worst enemy. Why do I say that? Listen to me for a second. If we continue to get played, to get disrespected, to get trampled on, to get relegated to the lowest portion of society here in America, we continue to experience this stuff, but yet and still, we continue to turn to the same power forces that are disrespecting us to ask them to free us. Why are we continuing to do these things? There's got to be something in our mind that needs to be eliminated. There's got to be something that's keeping us believing that we have to ask for our freedom. We have to ask for equality. We have to ask for equity. Who in their right mind across the globe has asked for something such as freedom, equality, and equity, and it has been given to them without a war? Everyone knows that we are our own worst enemy. I don't care if you come from a black nation, a brown nation, or a yellow nation. When people think of the American Negro, let's really just talk about who we're talking about here. Because I know there's going to be people that are black, but they may be from other nations outside of America who feels that they're not experiencing what the American Negro experiencing. And they feel that the American Negro just has to pull themselves up by the bootstraps, and we ain't even got no goddamn boots to start with, right? So we know that we have, see, the numbers are there. If you guys, Listen, I don't know how else to say it. Whether you like the people who are presenting the information, the data, the research, the facts, whether you like them or not, I don't care. This is not about liking personalities. I don't want you to like me because of my personality, because this is social media, all right? I want you to come for information. I say it all the time. If people are on this channel to be entertained, they got the wrong person. I am not here to entertain anyone. I just want us to all look at things differently. I just want us to be critical in our thoughts and in our discussion. I just want us to be fair with how we're analyzing a situation that we find ourselves in over and over again. We need to stop praising just the good parts of what we did, and we have to look at all parts. So that's why I'm here. So I say that to say, you may not like certain people. You may not like the way Dr. Darity delivers his information, but you need to follow Dr. Darity because he has the data, he has the research, he has the facts that's going to give us the information that we need to get free. You may not like the way Yvette Carnell delivers her information, but you need the data. You need the understanding. You need the research. You need the facts. You may not like the way Tone Talks delivers his information. You may think that he thinks he's this and he thinks he's that. That is your own personal issue. It has nothing to do with the information that you can obtain in order for you to better understand this psychological, economic, educational, societal war that we are in. You need the information. You need the data. You have to understand what other people, black, brown, and Asian, or yellow, come from different countries into this country. They are automatically conditioned to look at the American Negro as something that is disposable. Thank you for that donation, the political trap. Thank you so much. They are programmed that way because they come here and they have entitlements that we don't even have, and they believe in their heads that is offered to all of us. And I have showed you guys in so many of my videos the various things that we are systematically locked out of. We have to understand something here. We have to understand something here. If you don't have the data, I don't care about your emotions. And I mean that respectfully. Do not get in your bag. We are having real conversation. If you don't have the data, if you don't have the facts, it really doesn't matter how you feel. I'm not interested in talking your emotional discussions about the presidency. I'm not interested in your feelings about you getting mad because people are saying bad things about Kamala Harris. I'm not interested in that. You have to look at the data. You have to look at the track record. You have to look at the facts. You have to look at the history. You have to examine what we did right, what we're doing wrong in order for us to get better. In 1963, people from all other nations came into this nation and looked at the American Negro as something that is disposable. Not even someone that's disposable, something that is disposable. And in 2020, we have the same thing happening. Think I'm lying when I'm not? We have the same thing happening. People are coming in from other black, brown, and yellow nations looking at the American Negro as disposable. And the American Negro, too many of us are not equipped to deal with it because we don't know, because we are in our passive state. We are in a sleeping state, and many of us continue to present as disillusioned. We continue to believe things that are not backed by data, that is not backed by facts, that is not backed by history. The only thing is backed by are emotions. There's a problem here. There's a problem here. That's right, Edward. Said hamster wheel running. Right? That's right, Trina. Delusional, easily persuaded. Absolutely. This is what is happening in our community. When you can have, at the time was Vice President, I believe, Lyndon B. Johnson, when you can have him say that emancipation was a proclamation, but was not a fact, that is a problem. If you know that somebody in that position has made that statement, then you know other people before him and after him feel the same way about the American Negro. Will they say it publicly and out loud? No. You will have to be sitting there with your recorder on or your video there secretly so you can hear them to say it, but they would never say it publicly because it's not politically correct. It's not nice. And everybody's into looking nice. But that's what they think, and that is how they feel. And if you don't believe me, do your research. This is what this man penned. That emancipation was a proclamation, but was not a fact. And when you unpack it, when you uncover the layers in which he was speaking to, what he is saying that the Negro, the American Negro in this country remains in bondage in the following areas. Everyone knows it. Politically, we are in bondage. Thank you for that donation, T. James, right? Said, I love and respect Dr. Claude work, but Dr. Davy explains why Dr. Claude vision wasn't sustained. You're absolutely right. And you know what? It's nothing but love and respect for Dr. Claude. And again, we got to just look at everything within context. We have to look at everything within context with the information and the data that Dr. Claude Anderson had at that time. And it doesn't mean that it was wrong at that time. And I'm not saying that it's wrong right now. What I'm saying is some things does not apply anymore. Some things are outdated. And if we're not prepared to look at that with a critical lens, then we start getting in our emotions. We start getting upset because we don't want to pair it up with the data that we have right now. You got to understand that as long as the human population changes, the data is going to change. We're not stagnant. We change. Thank you for that donation, Rue. Thank you for that donation. We change. And we have to understand this. And we have to critique this and analyze this so we can understand where we keep going wrong. You cannot read a book today, put it down, and don't read for 10 years. And that's what we do, people. Because we have been disillusioned. Our mind is being controlled and programmed. It has made music our God. It has made television our God. It has made material prosperity our God. And the one thing we need to focus on, our education, too many of us are not. But that's why we're here. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it, okay? Because we are in bondage. The American Negro is in bondage politically. We are in bondage psychologically. You think the stuff that we are seeing in many of our communities is by accident? We got a lot of sick, traumatized people out there that America has ignored for over 400 years. America has psychologically damaged and traumatized our people, and America has not rectified the situation. America has not enacted laws specifically for us and followed through with it. America has hurt and harmed us and has not fixed it. And when everyone sees the American Negro, they see a crazy person. So we have been relegated to that position. bondage. We are in psychological bondage. We have also been made to believe that healing wasn't necessary because we are okay. Only sick people, only sick people think that they are healthy. Listen to what I'm saying. In our community, sick people think they're healthy. How many of us won't even go to the doctor knowing goddamn well our head don't feel well? We've been having a headache forever and we still think we fine. We're just going to take some Tylenol. We're going to take some Advil. We're going to rest and let it be. And then we don't wake up tomorrow. Sick. Sick. We have been psychologically damaged through trauma to believe that we are well. We are in psychological bondage. We are in social bondage. We have been socialized and conditioned to socialize a certain way. And it works perpetually on its own without any help. Man, look, we are socially in bondage. Even when we try to get out of our situation and move into a different area, we're still regulated or relegated to the bottom caste. No matter what, you can come in with all types of degree, all types of money, and socially, you walk into a room, a white room, you are still looked at as you are at the bottom. You can be a doctor saving lives, a surgeon with steady hands saving lives, and you walk into a public space with white faces and socially you're automatically cast at the bottom. That's what social bondage looks like. That's what social bondage looks. Let me tell you a story. I know I told some of y'all a while ago. I remember when I was at one of my doctors that obviously is not my doctor anymore. This was years ago. This is about 4 years ago because my daughter has since graduated. And I remember my doctor was asking, well, how's your daughter? Da, 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 da. And I said, oh, she's away at college. Oh, what university she goes to? So I tell him the university, and this jealous mother freaker, because my daughter graduated from my Ivy, he says, oh, really? Really? She goes to that school? Wow. They must be giving out degrees now. So you already know how that conversation went. You already know that there was emails written based on that conversation, right? And you already know that that person was no longer my doctor as of that day, right? So you already know. And I didn't lose my gasket. I did what I legally should do, right? But that goes to tell you right there that you couldn't even stomach the fact that you could not accomplish what my daughter can. And automatically, you thought she wasn't worthy. We have been casted to the bottom. That is social bondage that they refuse to let us out of. Right? That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like. We are in economic bondage. Look at what COVID has done to so many of us. Look at what it has done to so many of us because we have been relegated to the bottom. Lower paying jobs, right? And when those jobs close, many of our families have been hurt economically. Many of them with no family to borrow from. Because guess what? Their family don't have it either. And still put in a position to have to beg the oppressor for employment. Still put in a position to have to beg the oppressor for food. Still put in a position to have to beg the oppressor for leniency when it comes to their rent, their mortgage, their car note, life insurance, credit card payments. Still have to beg the oppressor because we are in economic bondage. That's right, Trina. Still a slave. But guess what? People don't want to hear that because they don't like the word slave or slavery. That's what disillusionment looks like. See, people don't want to think of slavery because when they think of slavery, they think back to 1619. Not realizing that modern day slavery comes in many forms. And when we look at the population of people that it greatly impacts, it looks like the American Negro. And nobody wants to have that discussion because it's painful. Because it's painful. You know how you heal is when you start addressing the things that you have buried, that you have repressed, that you refuse to look at because you don't want to emotionally hurt. You start healing when you start the process of awareness and acceptance. That's how you start healing. But nobody wants to do that, right? Nobody wants to do that. Nobody want to recognize the different bondages we are in. We are also in intellectual bondage. Intellectual bondage. But who wants to have that discussion? See, because when you think about all the things that are striked up against us, when you think about the political bondage we are in, when you think about the psychological bondage we are in, the social bondage, the economic bondage, the intellectual bondage, it's painful. I get it. It's painful. But I have seen intellectually how people that I know who may have accomplished what they needed to accomplish educationally, but their children have not. You understand what I'm saying? They went out and got theirs, but their children have not, because the conversation has stopped somewhere in the household when they no longer made it a priority to focus on the education. Somewhere along the line, there are no more conversations around the table forcing your children to read certain books, to have the conversation. Somewhere along the line, it has stopped, that we're not watching documentaries and intellectual things on television that we need to watch so our children can have an understanding of where they come from and where they're going to be going if they don't get their asses together. But somewhere around the line, we have stopped having these conversations. We are in intellectual bondage for some reason. For some reason, we think that it's not necessary. And that is a problem. And everyone seems to know this, but us. Everyone, see, let me tell you something when I say everyone, and I mean absolutely everyone. Thank you for that donation, Secret Balance. Secret Balance is saying hurt people, and we are together in schoolwork and life. We are learning from broken people who won't admit it or accept it. Spiritual warfare. You are absolutely right. She also says matters concerning jurisdiction should be at the forefront of our conversations because we need to understand the Aboriginal people of this land are and who the aliens are, right? Absolutely. Absolutely. Greetings to you too, Queen Hanifa. Greetings to you. That's Queen Mother Hanifa. Blessings. Right? This is so critical. This is so critical that we have to start examining how we are showing up. What bondages do we have on us right now? So many of us are afraid to get politically free. We'd rather stay in the bondage, tied to a party that does nothing for us, than to get free. Because just like our ancestors on the plantations that was afraid of getting free, they want to know who's going to take care of me. Just like the Jews in the Bible was afraid of getting free because they said, at least in Egypt, they feeding us. At least we got a roof over our heads. What's going to happen when we out there? Everybody afraid to get free, but they want freedom. Sounds like the time when my grandmother said, she don't know what's happening when these lazy people. My grandmother, she's just that kind of person. The bougiest lady I know in the projects, I'll tell you that lady. Ooh, baby, she raised us right out the projects. Listen, my grandmother is one bougie lady, but I love her to life. But she said, everybody want to work. No, everybody want to get paid, but nobody want to work. That reminds me of the people on the plantation. Everybody want to be free, but nobody wants to do the work that it takes to get free. We rather stay in our bondages. So what kind of bondages do you have? Are you politically bonded? Are you afraid of letting go? Are you in economic bondage because you're afraid of stepping out and doing it on your own? It's just comfortable getting that check every 2 weeks. I get it. I get it. Are you in psychological bondage because you're afraid to ask for help? You're afraid to read some books that's going to challenge you so you can know that the stuff that you believe ain't real? Are you in a religious bondage situation? Religiously bonded because you are afraid of letting go of everything that you have been taught, but you have not researched yourself? Thank you for that donation, YouTube News and Interviews. Right? What kind of bondage are you in? What kind of bondage are you in? Are you afraid to set yourself free? Because you don't know what to expect on the other end. See, this is where we went wrong in the 1963 Negro Revolution. We want to have a revolution, but we weren't trying to get the people free from the very things that have us enslaved. We weren't. We weren't doing it then. We're not doing it now. A 157 years later, after emancipation, and we're still experiencing economic insecurities. That is a problem. We got more of us educated now than we ever had, and we still are not paid what we should be paid. We still are living paycheck to paycheck. We still fear losing our job because if we lose our job, especially many of the women, we lose everything. Thank you for that donation, Antonio. Right? We lose everything. 157 years later, and we are still experiencing economic insecurities. We are still experiencing being relegated to the bottom caste because of our income levels and because of the color of our skin. 157 years later, we are still imprisoned because of the virtue of our skin color. 157 years later, too many of us still don't know our true history. We only know what they have given us. It is 2020. There is no need for that anymore. 157 years later, we are still expected to lift ourselves up by the bootstrap, and we are still walking around barefoot. And no one seems to see it. Everyone has convinced us that we have on boots. It's like the emperor's new clothes. Everyone is convincing us that we are fully clothed. And because we don't have control of our own mind psychologically, we believe them. We get out there and we do our best and we put our best foot forward and it doesn't happen. But they keep us psychologically bonded by showing us your Oprah Winfrey's of the world, by showing us your celebrities, by showing us the one person out of 1 million people who have done it. And we become disillusioned and we say, that's going to be me. Now, I know y'all going to get in your bag. I know you're going to get on the back. But we was even disillusioned and psychologically controlled when they propped Obama up in front of us. I know y'all don't like it. Y'all going to get in your bag. We were disillusioned and controlled when they propped Obama up in front of us. Thank you so much, Black Mama, for that generous donation. Thank you so much, my sister. Why do I say that? Why do I say that? Because how many of us knew he descended from slave owners? How many of us knew his family was already in cahoots with power systems at B? How many of us knew that he wasn't in that position by his own merit? It was a strategy. Disillusionment. Disillusionment. And for some reason, we still got a bunch of sleeping Negroes that love fluffiness. They don't want you to shatter their world. They love fluffiness. And we got a lot of sleeping Negroes that are raising generations of sleeping Negroes. And if we don't wake up the next generation of sleeping Negroes, we're going to be fighting this same fight 50 years from now. Aren't you tired? Aren't you tired? I'm tired. Black Mama said, I was all dumb happy on the Obama train. Not anymore. Baby, he had me that first term. That second term, I did not vote no Obama. I started doing my research. See, people doing their research now after the fact. But baby, when I recognized that our condition has not changed and there was nothing protecting us, I started to dig. Something ain't right. Something ain't right. But this is what's happening. This is where we went wrong. I mean, we got to start analyzing these things. In 1963, they were complaining that the burden of the household to keep the household fed and clothed primarily fell on the backs of Black women. And here we are in 2020, and that's still the same discussion. Everybody is talking about even the Black woman is talking about the Black woman having to carry the burden. But everybody blames the Black woman, and ain't nobody blaming the system. There's a problem. There's a problem. See, you can control somebody's mind when you give them information on what you want them to think about. And anytime somebody who has a little piece of mind challenges the thought, you got the power forces, Black and white, that tell you that's not important. Don't even talk about that. And for some reason, we say, okay, I ain't going to talk about it. That's their problem. They tell you what to think and what to believe, and you go along with it. But does anybody sit back and scratch their head and say, why is this still an issue? Why over 50 years later, this is still an issue? 57 years later, the same arguments exist? 157 years later, the same argument exists. Does anybody see that as an issue? When do we stop being emotional and start being logical and rational and really start considering what's at play here? When do we stop getting in our bag, wanting to shut down voices like this channel and other similar channels? When do we stop doing those kind of things and then say, well, you know something? Aside from the personality, they got a point. You know something? I never heard of that. Let me write it down so I can do some research. When do we start doing that? But we have been so psychologically programmed to be entertained that we come on platforms for people who are teaching just to argue with them. And to interrupt the chat, as opposed to coming with a pen and paper ready to write down what is being said to learn. Intellectual bondage. Intellectual bondage. When you can't set your emotions aside for 2.5 seconds in order for you to hear a word, in order for you to go back and research and read a few books for more understanding, you can't do that. You are in intellectual bondage. You have been programmed and conditioned to behave and think a certain way. That's right, Ram Deer said control opposition. Trina saying black folks still don't read like it's illegal. People died to read, but they promote people died to vote. And here's Mr. Cheeks. We are following the protocol and the agenda to bash him. See, I think Mr. Cheek is talking about Mr. Obama, but I'm glad you said that, Mr. Cheek, because you are a prime example. A prime example, someone can get information, put facts in front of you, and instead of you going to do your own research so you can understand where we are right now and where we are about to go, it is no surprise or mistake why Biden is the next president. The next candidate. There's no mistake why that's happening. But you have been conditioned to believe something that is not in merit. That is not true. This whole system is rigged and has always been rigged. You are probably one of those people that believe we put Trump in a chair because you don't understand the electoral college. Thank you for that donation from the Geek Moms. Good stuff. Aloha from Hawaii. How you doing, sister? Just came in the door, turned on George, my computer, checked my notification, and saw you live. Preach, Dr. Sean. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Right? That's right, Corey. Can't touch Black Jesus. Lord Jesus. Right? People kill me with this. In 2020, there's no reason why we should not be sitting down and analyzing our history over time and start looking for the thread that's interwoven in between all the different facets of history so we can understand what is happening here. If you follow the thread, you will see all the bondage that we continue to be in because we keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. And what are we doing? Let me tell you right now what we're doing. I'm about to get on out of here. I'm 2 minutes over. Thank you for that donation, Corey. Let me tell you what we're doing right now. We're passive. We are a passive people. And nearly every other nation knows the American Negro are a bunch of passive people. And passivity is our worst trait because it's passivity that keeps us in bondage. You know what it looks like? Let me show you. Let me paint the picture so you can see how it looks. Somebody has given us the key to our lock and has placed it on the table, and there's 10 Negroes in the room, and the only thing we have to do is get to that key to unlock one lock, and then we'll be able to unlock all the locks, and we don't do it. Everybody's waiting for the next person to do it because they think it's a trick bag. Because of all the conditioning and all the training that they have received about themselves that are not true, but they believe it to be true, it is all of the conditioning and the training that would stop them from going for that key for their freedom. And that's what psychological bondage looks like. That's what psychological bondage looks like. You have been given the key. What is stopping you from reading? What is stopping you from researching? What is stopping you from taking a stance? What is stopping you from teaching your children differently? What is stopping you from uniting? What is stopping that from happening? What is stopping you from saying good morning? What is stopping you from saying, are you hungry? Can I help you? What is stopping you from saying, I'll watch your children? What is stopping us from doing that? Because we have been conditioned to think poorly of each other. We have been conditioned to see one another as the enemy. We have seen each other as the thief, the murderer, the rapist, and we don't trust not one of us in our community. We have adopted a westernized way of thinking. We have become individualized in our thinking. We have become individualized in our approaches. And we don't see an issue with that. Passivity. We're passive people. Our worst trait. And every time we rise up, and every time we protest, we always have our own people telling us to stop doing what we're doing. You want to see a change, get out there and rock your vote. That's where you're going to get the change. We have been told this. We have been told this for over 50 years. And we are still in the same situation. There's got to come a time when we sit back and we ask ourselves, what's happening here? Where are we going wrong? For years, we run out, we rack up votes for our political party that we are in bondage with, that we have a never-ending debt to for some apparent reason. I'm still trying to figure it out. We rack up all these votes. We go out there, we bash people for not voting, bash them for thinking critically, bash them for having a difference of opinion because we like groupthink. That's probably the reason why we're going wrong right now. We like groupthink. We don't like anyone who thinks differently. We don't like anyone that goes against the grain that we have been conditioned to believe. And we start bickering, we start fighting, and the power forces that be that have their knees on your neck see us fighting, and they don't have to do a goddamn thing. They can get up, they can walk out the room, leave the keys to your freedom on the table, and you won't even notice it. You won't even pick up the key, and you won't even unlock yourself. And even this conversation is frustrating and upsetting for some people because they can't sit back and say, what areas are I'm afraid to do something different in? Why am I afraid to demand something for my vote? Why am I afraid? We have made Trump the big bad wolf. He's the big bad wolf. Right? Meanwhile, Biden is a piranha. But for some reason, we ain't afraid of the piranha. We much rather run from the wolf. It's crazy. Both eat your ass up. Crazy. But we rationalize it. Instead of asking, why am I doing this? What am I afraid of? But we believe crazy things. We believe crazy things. And it's just bananas. I remember when Trump first won, and I woke up. I went to sleep. I didn't even see the rest of the presidency thing because I could have cared less. I didn't like Hillary. I didn't vote for her. I didn't vote for Trump. So I could care less, right? I voted, but not for them. I went to sleep. And I woke up, and I remember my husband was standing there, bewildered, looking all sad. And he said, Trump won. I said, okay. And I kept it moving. And when I posted on my Facebook page, I woke up the same way I went to sleep, blessed. This one lady, a black woman, of course, a boomer at that, says to me, yeah, that's how you feel? What I hope you're blessed 4 years later. I don't know. Y'all tell me. You let me know. I ain't crying. I ain't crying not one iota. You let me know. You see what fear does to people? You see what fear does? And these are the same people that proclaim to be Christians. But you put so much faith in a man. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. Bondage, political bondage, psychological bondage, bondage, social bondage, bondage, intellectual bondage, bondage. And the one person that's free, we look like we crazy. Our passivity is our worst trait. We are our worst enemy. Right? That's right, Mary. Still blessed and F you. I mean, I'm pretty sure you didn't mean F you, but I get it, right? Because I pretty much was like F you to the lady. I gave her a little gift with me flicking of my hair. She ain't like it. Because she in chains and I'm not. She's in bondage and I'm not. Run around here, people saying stupid stuff. Whole bunch of groupthink. I don't understand it. Everybody, every other nation views the American Negro as too passive. Every other nation views the American Negro as a population of people who are unwilling to take strong measures to gain their freedom. Every other nation sees us like that. Every other nation. We knew back then, if you read any of Dr. King's books, we knew back then we weren't free. And here we are in 2020, still with the same argument that we aren't free. In 1963, we plead and we bargained, and we had non-violent protests asking for the American government to give our freedom. And in 2020, many of us are doing the same goddamn thing. There's got to be a time when we step back and we say, what are we doing here? What is happening here? There's got to be a time that we step back and we say, it ain't them, it's us. But even saying that, who wants to take accountability? Right? Accountability is the hardest thing for many people to do. But once you take accountability, that's when you're going to get change. When are we going to sit back and say, why do we keep asking these people to look at us as human? Why do we keep asking these people to treat us right? I don't know about you, but I'm tired of it. And here we are, another area we went wrong. I'm going to say this and I'm out. Another area we went wrong is we tend to pride ourselves on non-violent protests. We pride ourselves on it. And I get it. I understand why we pride ourselves on it, because that's our conditioning and our training, right? Everybody got their fear. I get it. But does anyone ever think about why in 1963 they chose a non-violence stance? Do they understand that they adopted that from somewhere else outside of America, had nothing to do with us? Do they understand they looked at, Dr. King looked at other areas where they did this and incorporated into at America, and not realizing that, yeah, it may have worked for a short period of time, but in the long run, it didn't do us nothing. It didn't do us nothing but relegated us to a position of passivity. Now, everyone expects us not to talk back. Everyone expects us not to fight back. Everybody expects us to go along to get along. Everybody expects us to be nice. You know what that did for us? It reminds me of when you go to certain stores, like the snuffy, uppity stores, and the white folk automatically think you're going to hold the door for them. Not my ass. I walk right on in. Because you can just tell who you can't hold the door for. I don't know about y'all, but I know who you just can't hold the door. And I'm not going to relegate myself to some psychological damage, holding the door and getting mad when they walk right past me like they don't see me, and I say, thank you. I'm not setting myself up for no nonsense like that, because I'm nasty. I'll get mad. Right? So instead, I just walk on through. Just walk on through. But we tend to pride ourselves in passive. When has passivity become the thing to do? We even teach our children not to fight back. A bully don't respect a child that doesn't hit back. We teach our children to get punched in the head and tell the teacher. And if the teacher doesn't do anything, then you go tell the principal. And the principal doesn't do anything, then you come tell me. So that means the child got punched in the head, told the teacher. Child got punched in the head again. It's the second punch, told the principal. The child got punched in the head again, third punch, tell the parent. That's absolutely crazy. We are conditioned to be this way. Psychological bondage. We are conditioned to be this way. And for some reason, we find pride in that. And then the parent, like me, that tells their children, if someone hits you, you hit their asses back and let me deal with the teacher. I'm the bad parent. You out of your goddamn mind. I bet you my kids would never bully. I'll tell them all the time, crack them right in the top of their nose. They won't touch you again, I promise you that. But for some reason, we have been conditioned to say, why would you teach your child violence? So when they become an adult, they don't take violence from your dumb ass. That's why. Now, do I tell them to go around and bully people? Absolutely not. But am I going to sit there and tell my child to get beat over the head and not hit back? No. But for some reason, people think the American Negro should get beat over the head and not hit back. That's where we went wrong. Now, this is my opinion. This is my opinion. We have adopted somebody else's strategy, and we found it applicable for us. We have adopted somebody else's strategy, and we thought we won a war. We didn't win the war. We won a battle of 1963, but the war is continuing. We have been at this war for 157 years, at the very least. We are still in the same goddamn war, but for some reason, you all have been conditioned to believe that we won that war with nonviolence. We didn't. We didn't. We didn't win that war. That was a battle that we won. One down, 100 more to go. Don't you think with all the battles in front of us that complete the war, that make up the war, don't you think with all the battles in front of us, it's kind of tiring? Don't you think you're going to get worn out? It's like watching boxing. You hope within the first 2 to 3 rounds, a sucker's going to get knocked out. And then it goes to round number 4, round number 5, round number 6. By the time round number 7 comes, they look tired. They throwing weak punches. Right? They're hugging on each other. They're hugging on each other. That's how we look. That's how we look. We're not even fighting anymore. We just hugging on each other. We getting pushed back. We just hugging on each other. White man beating our asses. And we just hugging. We not even hitting back. We just trying not to go down. We just hugging. That's how we look. It's ridiculous. Dancing around the ring. Don't want to throw a punch. Swerving. Swerving. That's how we look. Passivity keeps us disillusioned. Now, like I said earlier, I'm out of here. What I said earlier is we got to teach something different. We have to do something different. Something different is going to look different for a lot of us, but we got to do something different. This strategy that the older generation has conditioned the next generation to use is not working. And if we keep with that strategy, we're going to have another generation of people with knees on their necks, and it is not working. We have to do something different. We have to prepare the next generation. And that's where we went wrong. We went wrong because after we won that battle, we thought it was a war that we won, and we got comfortable. We got comfortable and we went back into our sleeping state. And we was ignoring the things around us that was letting us know that nothing has changed. We was mumbling, we were complaining, and we got comfortable. And here we are, 57 years later, from the 1963 Negro Revolution, and we're fighting the same goddamn war. But for some reason, we thought it was a war back then, not realizing it was a battle. You see what happens when you do group things? Somebody needs to have stepped out of that circle and said, this ain't working. This ain't working. And they want me to feel some kind of way. Oh, but Dr. Shonna, do you know how many people, both black and white, got beat over their heads so you can eat in their restaurants so I can make them rich? So you got to change your language. You got to change your language. You know how many of our ancestors lost their lives so you can drink from the water fountain, from their water fountain? See, when you say that, that makes people uncomfortable. What are you trying to say? You much rather it to be segregated? Isn't it segregated now? We still moving into their neighborhoods. And when they move into our neighborhoods, they kick us out. Isn't it segregated now? That's right, Pookie Bear. Pookie Bear, why you name Pookie Bear? But Pookie Bear said Malcolm X tried and they ignored him. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. We got to do something differently. So that's all I want to do for this video, y'all. I'm 20 minutes, 21 minutes later. I wanted to just let y'all know, I want to come on here and just say we have to really start analyzing where we were then, where we are now, and where we're going to be tomorrow if we keep with the same stupid ass tactics. It worked in 1963. It's not working in 2020. It worked in 1963 for that battle. 1963 was not a war. It was a battle. We are still in the same war, and it's not working. We cannot use the same old ass playbooks because they understand our playbooks. The play ain't working. We need a new coach. The run is not going to happen. We need a new coach. We can't change teams. Some of y'all trying to change teams right now, you realize it ain't working either. They're trying to change teams, be something that you're not, and you realize it ain't working. We got to do something differently. So I want to say thank you all for tonight. That's right. Sudoku saying critical analysis, time to wake up, family. We need to, right? That's right. Sudoku says we need a new strategy. That's one of my community members. We do. We need a new strategy. And part of it, the first step to getting a new strategy is to start releasing yourself of these bondages. The keys are on the table. The keys are right there. What is stopping you from picking up the keys and kindly unlocking yourself? Setting yourself free, setting the people in your environment free, setting your children free, setting your nieces and nephews, your sisters, your brothers, your mother, your father, setting them free. What is stopping you from unlocking the chains of bondage? As long as those chains are on us, we're not going to experience something new. You're not going to experience something new. I love you guys. Have a blessed night. Make sure, ladies, you get registered for Saturday's class. Visit theiriswomen.com. Sign up because we talk about relationships. We do better as women. And it's not a preachy thing. You just got to come to class to see what I'm talking about. It's not a preachy thing. It's a strategy thing. Because I think a lot of us women, we are understanding men the wrong way. We understand men the wrong way. They're not our enemies. They're not our enemies. You just got to know how to wield the situation correctly. You got to be the neck so you can turn that bad boy. Got to be the neck. So sign up for the class, theiriswomen.com, for all my business students in this YouTube group. For my business students, we're going to be having class on Saturday at 3 o'clock p.m. I'm teaching you the language to use to market your products correctly. That's right, B1 family. And to all my social media influencer people, tomorrow I'll be doing a class for you as well at about 5 o'clock, 4 to 5 o'clock p.m. You'll have a social media class. And for my relationship members in this group, you'll have another video uploaded that you can glean from. Okay, I love every last one of you guys. Peace and blessings. Subscribe to the channel, give the videos a thumbs up, and make sure, if nothing else, you share this video with your community. Speak to you soon.